Okay, here's another example of arc length. So here's our equation here, and it's going from 0, 1 to 8, 5, and we want to find the length on the interval 0 to 8. So this could actually be done because we could solve this for x or we could solve this for y. So we can, but it's going to be definitely a lot easier to solve this for x. So if I square root both sides, I'm going to get x equals plus or minus the square root of y minus 1 cubed. And that was definitely easier than the other way around, less steps. So if this is the case, then we actually have to do this in terms of y. So instead of going from 8 to 5, if we do this from 1 to 5, from 0 to 8, if we go from 1 to 5 in terms of y, the y values, we can do this just as well. So we're going to write this as a function in terms of y. G of y is going to equal, we're going to use the positive half of this because it's this curve. There's another part of this curve that's kind of curving on the bottom like this, but we're not going to use that part. We're going to use the plus side of it. And anyhow, so we're going to, since this is a square root and that's a 1/2 power, and we're going to combine that there, we're going to have y minus 1 to the 3/2 power from, instead of from 0 to 8, now we're going to go in terms of y from 1 to 5. So s equals from 1 to 5, because we're doing in terms of y, the square root of, oh, we forgot to do the integral here. So g prime of y, I'll have to do that off to the side. G prime of y is going to equal the 3/2 in front, y minus 1 to the 1/2, right? And then the derivative of the inside, which is just 1, which we don't even have to do. So there's our derivative. Anyhow, so 1 plus 3/2 y minus 1 to the 1/2 squared dy. All right, we've got to definitely do some simplifying in here. So this is going to be 3/2 squared is 9/2. This squared is just going to cancel. So I'm just going to focus on the square root for now. 1 plus 9/2, or 9/4, excuse me, because we squared the top and the bottom. Y minus 1. Let's distribute, simplify, do all that stuff. And I'm going to actually get, once that's done, 9/4 y. 9/4 times 1 is 9/4. So 1 minus 9/4 will give me negative 5/4. All right. I'm going to factor out a 1/4. I have a reason, of course. But I'm going to write this as 1/4 9y minus 5. The reason I want to do that is because the 1/4 can come out of the square root as a 1/2, and I would just prefer that. So once all is said and done, we simplified what was in there. Now let's get back to the actual formula. So from 1 to 5 dy and the s. Okay, that's an s. S equals, the 1/4 comes out as a 1/2. I'm going to pull that out front. From 1 to 5 of 9y minus 5, the square root of 9y minus 5 dy. All right. So you're going to have to do a u substitution here. Anyhow, the derivative of 9y is, of course, so 9. And so we're going to have to balance that out with a 1/9 out front, if you remember all of that. The 1/2 power will go to 3/2. So anyhow, this works out to be 1/2 times 1/9, which of course is 1/18. 9y minus 5 to the 3/2 power over 3/2. Or I would normally reciprocal that and just make it 2/3. But I left it in this form of from 1 to 5. And let's actually take this fraction, simplify this a bit more. So 1/18, reciprocal 3/2, and it becomes 2/3. So 2/3 times 1/18 is 2/52, which reduces to 1/27. And then 9y minus 5 to the 3/2 on the interval from 1 to 5. And now we just plug in our values and get some numbers here. S equals 1/27. 5 times 9 is 45. 45 minus 5 is 40. So 40 to the 3/2, which is some fraction. 9 times 1 is 9. Minus 5 is 4. Minus 4 to the 3/2. Plug all that in, get yourselves a number, and we'll get approximately 9.07 as the arc length. All right, so the worst part about this, I think, is honestly the simplifying you have to do before you actually do the integral. The integral, like I said, is not the difficult part. It's all that other simplifying that gets a little bit complicated. Anyhow, I'm just going to give you a couple more of these for some more practice, and that's about it. So, why don't you try on the same page, page 447, why don't you just do 7 and 9 for now.